Good morning to all of you in the Devil Dog Day Trade community. My name is Michael, and I'll be taking you through my day trading setup process for today, December 13th, 2021. A special welcome to all of you who are serving or have served in the armed forces. And here, of course, we do save the best for last, so an even more special welcome to all my fellow Marines out there. Semper Fi, Jarheads. For those of you joining us for the first time, we're on a journey together here, and we have people from all skill and experience levels as part of the community. However, the information that we talk about on these shows does resonate with each and every one of those different levels of experience and understanding. If there is a question or comment that you have, though, please post it in the chat if you're watching the live show. If you're watching this video later on, just put a comment in there, and we'll make sure that we get the answers back to you as quickly as we can. Quick reminder that the feed can be delayed up to 30 seconds on YouTube. So if I'm not instantly responsive to chat, that could be why. However, I do check it frequently throughout the show to make sure that we do get back to you guys. So a lot of good stuff going on. I saw the video over the weekend. We're getting much more into crypto moving forward. So expect a much bigger portion of that each day here. And so we'll get into that a little bit more. And then we're also doing a little bit of focus on some of the days of the week on different markets. So that's particularly interesting to you. You know, you get a little bit deeper dive into those each of the days. We're doing FOREX on Mondays. We'll do an even deeper dive into crypto, look at more of those markets on Wednesdays, and then Fridays we'll do a much deeper one into the futures market as well. Tuesdays and Thursdays we'll just kind of keep normal, with of course having the additional crypto each day as well. So let's take a look and just go back over the last 24 hours and also look at Forex Factory to check up on what happened in the next 24 hours to see if there's any impactful events that may impact our trading day. There was nothing that happened that was scheduled over the weekend. You will see, though, when we take a look at the crypto areas, quite a bit of movement there yesterday evening. As far as what's happening today moving forward, we have two things from that affect Great Britain. You see there we got the bank stress test results at 12 p.m. And then we also have the Bank of England governor speaking at 12:30, usually about those results. So we'll make sure that we monitor the Great British Pound futures and also any of the Forex pairs that trade the British Pound as well there. With that, let's go ahead and jump into our index markets. You'll see a little bit of a different view here on the TradingView platform that we use. Have it set up now to try and mimic the TradeStation platform so that we have a little bit more consistent look and feel throughout each of the securities that we're looking at here. So DAX, we just want to here go to the weekly time frame. Since this is Monday, we want to see where we're at in bigger context overall. And so you'll see here we are still coming up, still in this overall uptrend. On the weekly chart here, and we are coming up out of this area right in here, and we do have another zone right below this too. So if price does not come fully up out of here, we've got this other area that we're going to be very, very interested in. Again, should price come back down there. So that's where we're at on the weekly chart. Just again to try and just to set context there as we look through these, and on a daily chart you can see. We did have a little bit of strength coming in overnight, so that's looking positive. We also had the futures markets on the U.S. Came up as well there. So let's back down again. Let's go ahead and look at our 240-minute chart here, the 4-hour one, and we can see we're coming up to a little bit of a gap area up here. It's not a zone, just when we do have big gaps like that, we do want to be cautious of them. There's nothing else here, though, that has interested us at this point. Just note that we are overall still moving up, still have a bit of strength coming out of that weekly zone. And last chart we'll look at here is just a 60-minute one, just to see if there's anything we want to try and either take advantage of if you're trading DAX, or just know that it may impact the markets if we get down to it. And as I'm looking both up and left and down and left, not really seeing anything at all here. Just again, overall note that we still have a fair bit of strength here, which is what we expect, and there's nothing above that would prevent this from continuing on up. So let's jump over to TradeStation platform now and get into the remainder of our correlation markets before we jump into the indexes. And we've got here, see the US dollar. Again, starting with the weekly time frame, and we'll zoom in on this just so we get a good view of our context here. We are still coming up. You can see here we do have this literally a perfect consolidation area that we are coming into, and we are just about at the end of that. Really, price can't get too much more squeezed here, so would expect to see a bigger move out of this area sometime this week, and we will definitely keep an eye on that as it's continuing on. Nothing though new, of course, on a weekly time frame that we have to look out for that's not already drawn there. Going down to our daily areas, we've got an area of interest below, and then of course the very solid zones up above at our 99 and 100 area here. But again, nothing new. We're just again interested in this area down here at 95. Wouldn't take this as an automatic trade. Wait for another confirmation in there. But then if we get up into the 98, 99 area, those are very, very strong zones up there. All right, 240-minute chart. You can really still see this consolidation look that we have. Right, price is just continuing to move, smaller and smaller and smaller. So definitely looking for that that move out of this area. And again, we're not going to take any trades on here until we actually do move out of here. We need something with much higher probability. The area that it drew up here on the 60-minute chart, though, did not hold in any way on Friday. So we came down very close to the other zones that we had drawn below here, down at the 95, 96 area, and then the 95, 91. But didn't quite get into there before it turned around. So we'll look at the Euro chart to see if anything there really drove that and didn't allow price to come all the way back down into those areas. At this point, though, I would say those are used. So I wouldn't look to take a trade there automatically. You can look to see if price changes, on a smaller time frame. If we get those price movements in there, I could certainly look to take a confirmation trade out of there. But I wouldn't take anything automatically. Just looking down here, down and left again, and there's some interesting areas here, but we're still stuck in this consolidation zone. So I'm just very hesitant to take anything at this point until we get out of this space. So let's take a look at the VIX first. Just look at our overall volatility, and again, Mondays always start with the weekly time frame just to set the context for the entire week. You can see here the last couple of weeks we had a significant spike up, and now we're starting to come back into the more kind of average range where we expect to be at for this time frame. Again, nothing here that's going to drive price. We're just using this to monitor context overall. Daily zone, we are coming again back down into this expected area here. We're now right in the middle between our Bollinger Bands, which is where we expect to spend most of our time at. And there's no zones down here that we're interested in looking at. So we'll have to keep going down further to see if we got anything that we can actually use. So a 240-minute time frame. We did look at this on Friday, and we had this area here that we knew price was going to move off of. Weren't certain how far it was going to move, because it was still, at the bottom end of this significant move down here, but it is holding, and it has created a couple of other zones while it's been moving down. So just a good indication that these are stronger areas. I'll draw this as a zone. This wick here, it didn't quite completely eclipse the leg out candle, so it's still a valid, but wicks that are that long typically give me a little bit of hesitation on them. But you can see here, so we did form these zones inside of these other ones. So that's just, again, a much better sign that we got a little bit more strength pushing this down. Of course, as VIX goes down, the U.S. markets tend to go up. On a 60-minute time frame, see if we have anything new that was created in the last day or so that we want to take advantage of. And of course, I'm not going to find anything down and left because there isn't any price action we can respond to there. Looking up and left, though, there is nothing there except for those 240-minute areas that we've already looked at. Okay, so I'm going to hit the index futures next here, and then we'll jump in and do several minutes on Forex before we get into the crypto areas. All right, so on ES, again, let's always start with our weekly, and as you can see here, weekly perspective, we are still coming up. We do have this called a line of resistance, right? Where there obviously isn't any zones here because we're at all-time highs, but we do see prices struggling to get up past here, not unexpected. And if you look down at the bottom for our RSI, if we do set a new all-time high here, we would have a little bit of negative divergence, so just an indication that we could see another bigger correction down. There aren't any zones close by on a weekly time frame that we need to be worried about, so we're looking at that as an indicator that we could see a potential correction here if we do confirm that negative divergence. On a daily chart, we are, remember, high in the context, so we want to be very cautious of taking longs here. And we do have a significant amount of negative divergence that happened already. Price did come back down, and if you look on the RSI chart, you see we actually came down below our lower green line here, which means, for all intents and purposes, right, that we call that RSI has now reset. So we're waiting to see get another confirmation that that price will continue to set new all-time highs. And again, we're just going to be cautious of that on the weekly time frame. That additional correction may be coming, but that could still be a few weeks off. So I wouldn't use that as anything necessarily near time happening. No additional daily zones here, though. The 240, we did get break through this area that we had set here. That was again, it wasn't a zone that we had taken, but it was just an area that we saw potential movement there. We did correlate that with the NASDAQ short, so that would have been a good indication that this was going to work. But again, as is most cases, right, unless you're in a confirmed down market on indexes, the shorts don't usually hold for any significant length of time. So now we're back up above this area here. Nothing new created on a 240-minute chart that we have to look out for. Still, we have our area down at 4,600 that we're interested in. Again, we would be looking for additional correlations there before we would take a trade in that area. We had just about a perfect scenario happen for us on Friday with the zones that we drew on our 60-minute chart here. We had the first one that worked right away. We had actually, if I drew this one, yeah, we did. Yeah, so we drew it, right between the 8 and the 9 time frame. Price came down, bumped it, popped up, gave you a nice little 3 or even I think almost a 4 to 1, and then came back down through here. So you would have been out of that one and then gotten into the second one for a little bit longer of a trade, and this one again popped up and just worked absolutely flawlessly. What you will see though when you get to the NASDAQ is the NASDAQ one failed. But if we take both of those trades and high probability that one of them is going to work, and sure enough, the ES one did. That'd be a very, very, very nice trade coming out of there. So draw that one up as well. And while we're in this one, we also have another zone set up right here on a 60-minute time frame. This happened in while the market was open. And then as it popped open, as it closed out or opened last night as well. So very, very strong zone here. It'll be at the bottom of that overnight trading area. So a good place to take a trade and continue to ride this up. All right, let's on a 15-minute time frame, and we drew this one out literally in the show. Watched it hit. Actually, sorry, we didn't watch this hit in the show. We drew it out as it was happening, and this one would have worked out very, very well. We're just a little bit behind it, so weren't quite fast enough to take advantage of it. So as we're looking now on the 15-minute chart here, we want to look down and left. So this is the area that is showing up on the 60-minute chart. It's a good solid zone on the 15 one as well. So again, high probability that a trade is going to work very well here. And again, we're not looking for any shorts because we are so high in the context though. For these longs, I wouldn't necessarily hold on to them for a long period of time. Go for the much shorter profit targets there. All right, NASDAQ. Weekly context, we are a little bit weaker than the ES is right now. Still relatively the same view here with, again, if price comes up and does set a new all-time high, we would be looking at that negative divergence on RSI. We actually do have a weekly zone, though, on NASDAQ that we want to be looking out for, and it's a very strong one right in here. So if price does correct down, I would certainly expect to get movement back up out of this area. All right, and daily, again, remember we are high in the overall context, so we want to be cautious taking, longer term long positions. We do still have this other area of interest right below the zone that worked here on a daily time frame. I would again look for confirmation that this is going to work before you take it automatically. No other zones have been created here, so we don't have to worry about anything changing there. On a 240-minute time frame, we are still, as you can see, struggling to get above this line of resistance right here. And we have to break that, or we're not in a confirmed uptrend on the shorter time frames for NASDAQ. And no other zones have been created here, so nothing to look out for other than we have to break that line if we want to continue to take these longer term buy positions. So back down to the 60-minute chart, this is the area that we were talking about that was correlated with the ES, and as you can see, price came down in here, and sorry, I did not mean to do that. Try this here. So price did come down in. It did pop up a bit, so you would have at least had a break even, or maybe if you're depending on what your target was here, it could have worked to some extent, but then wicked down below, but then hit that ES zone and then popped back up again. So this one would have been a break even because for our rules, and then we do have the same zone on the 60-minute chart here as we did on the ES, so good confirmation that this is a good area since you got the correlation between the two indexes. Let's go down to our 15-minute area. We'll see that we had these two zones here. The first one actually it did work. You see price came right down, and actually I'm looking on the live stream view here, and that wick is barely showing up there, but it did come down in, hit this thing, and went up. It would have gone up a 4-to-1, which is our nominal target here. Yep, it would have. And then when it came back down through, it just broke through both of them completely there. Let me just reset this and mark these appropriately. So we had this one worked. Worked, and then the bottom one did not. All right. As I'm looking at the additional areas in here, we've got this the same area on the 15-minute chart as we do on ES. It also lines up with the same area on the 60. Good. Again, high probability to take a smaller move trade here, right? This would be a true day trade. You want to get in and out of this one pretty quickly. I wouldn't hold on to it too long. And then just keep in mind too, we have this other 15-minute short that we got into last week, and the price is working here. It's a very strong area, right? It keeps coming up and just cannot break through this. I want to say that we're on like our 7th or 8th time into this zone here, so just a lot of strength here. Okay, let's take a look at RTY. And our context here is going to be very different than the other two indexes, and not unexpectedly so. Right. So we're still in the middle of this white space, and we've got to get out of it before we can do anything. Would not take any, longer term long positions here until you break down below about this 2080 mark. Here we've got to get below here. Very important too before we get on any significant longs, and then you'll see on the daily chart of where we're looking at, if we can't get below there, we get a retracement back up into these areas right here. This is where you could certainly get on, take a longer term short position. From these areas, it would be one of those ones where do a little bit of additional risk mitigation, maybe take half of your position and take it off at a 1-to-1. But then the other one, I would, personally, this is ones where I would just leave these on, as long as you possibly can. Because if price does move out of here and breaks down below that area, you're looking at a very, very significant move down. But nothing else new created here, so we're just watching for those areas right there up top. Okay. Our 240-minute area. Same thing, right? Here's the purple line here. Here's our line that we have to get back above to change the overall trend on this medium time frame. And area of interest that we had down here. So this is the same formation that we see on the NQ and the ES as well. And as you can see, RTY just went down and just broke right down below it. So it wasn't a whole lot of strength here. It wasn't any indication that we were going to get a turn in price either. So not unexpected. Looking up and left, again, nothing here that I'm interested in looking at until we get into those, moving up to those daily areas or down below this whole entire white space area here. On our 60-minute time frame, we did have this area here that worked right away and then died, and then we had the stronger area below that I thought was going to be a much potentially better move. But again, remember, this was a counter trend move, so that's why it would have, your rules would have had to allow you to take a counter trend trade here. Mine do not, so did not take this one. As you can see, the price just punched right through it here. But go ahead and mark it off that it did not. This area did not work. But again, very much expected that it didn't. Not seeing anything here that we are interested in. Anything new. Let's take a look at the 15-minute chart just to see if there's anything that we want to take advantage of today. And again, we had this long area here. Again, this was a counter trend trade. So that's why it did not work. And we are only interested in taking shorts on a smaller time frame on RTY. And we have these two areas right here that happened overnight, and you can see, depending on how you played this, you're either got stopped out of this one and then didn't hit your other one, or if you took them both as a single trade, you may still be in this here. Say these are relatively strong areas. And then we do have another one that it created coming out of these, with, technically speaking, you've got your two base candles right here. However, those wicks are very, very long. Let's mark this as an area of interest. If you saw price change on like a 2 or a 5 minute chart here, then this might be a good confirmation trade to keep RTY moving short. And again, no longs in RTY right now until we change that trend state. All right, so let's move over to Forex now. We'll spend the next about 15 minutes or so in Forex. We've got a bunch of pairs to look through. And again, we want to look at, especially on the Euro ones, we want to see what changed there and why that dollar area we didn't get down to it on the 60-minute chart. And I think I can see that just quick looking at that Euro 60-minute chart. We'll get to that shortly. Let's look at the weekly time frame though. And as you can see, we're still in this bigger move down. A little bit of consolidation here, just like we saw on the dollar area. Looking at our RSI chart, I'm not seeing it. Yeah, not actually. No. Did slight bit of negative divergence between these two candles right here. But it doesn't look like it's enough that it's really moved it much. So if we do get a corrective move out of here, I would expect these other two areas, weekly zones, to absolutely hold and keep pushing it further down here. Excuse me. All right, on a daily chart, you can see we are creating this little bit of white space right in here. Still have a strong zone right up above, so if price does correct up, absolutely jump in here. Take this one. We got, again, your negative divergence on RSI. Wouldn't take any long positions here, again, because we are still in a absolutely confirmed downtrend in these areas. Sorry, I just minimized that chart instead of putting it back where it was supposed to go. Okay, on a 240-minute chart, this is your perfect example of, or a picture of why the white space is being created. That's because we're just moving back and forth between both of these zone areas here. We did have this area here that I think we talked about this the other day. It was didn't mark it as a zone, because again, we're right in the middle of all this, both consolidation and white space actually, and so it won't take anything here. But as you can see, this is why the price moved as little as it did, but it still moved out of this area, because it definitely is an area of imbalance, but just not one that we're going to take as a trade. And nothing new here. Price has got to move out of this area before we can take any trades that are of any level of probability. On a 60-minute time frame, especially since we're in an overall short view here, this zone right up above here actually have trades in on my Forex accounts for this one. Didn't quite trigger it yesterday or Friday, so leaving that trade in, because I still believe we're overall weak in this market and want to see a price continue down here. So I've got this one in. If price comes back up in here, we'll definitely take that and hold this one for a longer period of time. Nothing else new here to look at. We've got that area on the 60 and nothing else. Looking at 15-minute time frame, I did take this one as well on Friday, and as you can see here, I got stopped out of it. Zoom in on this one. So yeah, so took this trade and got stopped out of it. So clearly, stop was just a little bit too close in. So mark that down in my tracker, and we'll review to see if we need to move stops on here, depending on how many of these overall that we have. So it's a 15-minute time frame here. You've got this area right here. It's a very interesting one. Very, very low risk, so it may be worth taking, even though we haven't quite hit that other 60-minute area. But if you do take this one again, I would a much smaller profit target on this one. Don't hold on to it too long. Wait for the price to come up into that 60-minute area, before you get in for a much longer move down. So go ahead and mark this one off. Okay, let's move down into USD JPY. Again, weekly context here. Move up, and there's no zones above that we're looking for, but you got all the way down to 111, 107 down here before you're interested in getting in along, from a weekly time frame. So not a whole lot to pay attention to there on the weekly time frame. Daily, we are still moving up through this massive, huge daily candle right here. So, no zones at all that we can pay attention to on this time frame, other than we're now creating all this white space here. Really good zones right below, and then we've got nothing up on top. So just again, waiting for the right setup for price to either come back down, or we might find a better long on a smaller time frame, because overall this market is still trending up. So 240-minute time frame, we saw we talked a little bit about this as well last week. You've got these zones that are very close to each other, so it's very difficult to know which one of these is going to work. Remember, though, we are in an overall uptrend, so generally speaking, you want to lean towards long positions when you're in the uptrend, and just be very cautious of short ones. And so this area here that we've got marked as an area of interest is working now, and this hit at 1 p.m. Eastern time on the 10th. Take a look at the 60-minute time frame to see what type of confirmation that we had coming into there. I would expect that price is going to continue to move up from here, though. These are relatively strong zones. We are in an overall uptrend, so I'm not expecting this previously used area right here to hold much longer. And then we also have this zone just created, or in the process of being created. We do need to see this pivot point to the left here taken out before we confirm that this is an actual zone. So let's take a look at our 60-minute time frame just to see if we had any confirmation that this worked, or was going to work on the 240-minute time frame. You see here we had price coming in, and we did not have any negative divergence on RSI, so nothing on the 60-minute time frame that would have pointed this out, and no other areas here that we're interested in right off the bat until we get down lower into the 112.839 area. All right, so in a 15-minute time frame, we ended up breaking through this area right here finally. So that one worked out very well. That shorter time frame short. Again, we are in a sideways trend here on the smaller time frame, so you can certainly take again shorter profit target short positions. If I look down, we did have negative divergence on RSI on the 15-minute chart. So that 240-minute area would have, if you were following that kind of live and saw that happen, between 10:15 and 11:15, that would have been your good signal to get into that to that trade there. And again, because we are in an overall uptrend, I would hold on to that one. That should be a longer-term move up. And nothing else that I'm seeing here in the 15-minute chart that we're interested in taking a look at. So moving down, now we'll go to Australia USD, US dollar pair. And weekly context. Overall, we are in this pretty significant move down still. We've had a few corrections here. We actually had a very, very significant correction up here, and now it looks like we're continuing to fall from there. Let me just zoom in on this. Nothing that's clean enough moving up to take a look at. Coming back down, we do have this area right here that is of significant interest to us. You could say that it's been touched. I would still say this is a good, still a fresh zone, and be very interesting to see what happens like on a daily chart once we get price comes back down into this area right here. Sorry, let me zoom back out on this to get the right picture. So on a daily time frame, we are confirmed trend down here, and we did have a significant drop from RSI, so you're probably looking at a corrective action here. Fairly reasonable one. Let's see what our zones look like. We've got this one right here that I'm going to have to say we're going to treat as price has hit. If price comes back up into this area literally today or tomorrow, fine. Go ahead and take this one again. If it doesn't and continues down, then I would say just say that this one was already used. So that's probably your area where the correction came up to, and now you're going to get a bigger move back down out of here again. Let's see what this looks like on a 240-minute time frame. Again, a lot of movement down here below on RSI. As price came up, we did get negative divergence moving up again. So yeah, I'm at high probability this area has already been used. You're not going to see it come back up again here. Again, not looking to take any long positions here. You've got some formations here that do look okay, but again, remember these would be counter trend trades. So just only if your trading plan allows you to, make sure you've got good confirmation that price is going to change direction in for those counter trend trades. On a 60-minute time frame, we are in a sideways trend. So you can take either longs or shorts here. Again, remember with bigger context though, we are still in a downtrend. Nothing up and left that I'm interested in, and as I'm looking down and left as well, again, too far down here. Anything in this area right down here is probably going to, as well, I guess you'd still be in a sideways trend. So let's go ahead and mark this one right here. This is the only area that I'm interested in. Again, sideways trend. I would look for at least one other additional confirmation point before taking that one. All right, very short time frames. What can we expect throughout the day today? We are sideways trend on the smaller time frames right now. Again, bigger picture downtrend, so we're probably biased towards shorts rather than longs. And so as I'm looking up and left, I'm very interested in this one right here, because you can look left through here and see that price changed direction multiple times in this area. And then you've got a couple of other smaller ones right above here as well. I'm going to draw these both as one, actually two smaller zones, but the overall risk is very, very small here. So, and I would not look for any longs coming out of here. All right, Great British Pound, US dollar. Don't know why that didn't. There we go. Weekly time frame. This one is very significant move down, and starting to form some additional zones as well, where you could get maybe like a quick retracement up in here. I know the price isn't going to go much higher, and the same thing in this area right here. Daily chart. Just quickly looking down at the RSI on this one. Oops, did not zoom in. We've got a little bit of negative divergence down here, but not anything significantly strong, so I wouldn't look for a large correction up, but probably a correction up into those weekly zones or even to this one right here. But then you're probably going to see a price come back down from here. If you do take that one and it fails, note this one right here as well. one of those two is going to catch this correction back up and push things down again. All right, on a 240-minute time frame, again, just note this significant move down. We have had a couple of minor corrections in here just to keep the price moving up and down. And you see we're in another one right now, which may be a really good indication that we'll get back up to that daily zone that we just drew there. But nothing else on a 240-minute time frame that I would be interested in taking at this point. On a 60-minute time frame, zoom in on this whole area here. Again, we're still looking for overall for shorts. Just nothing real here. Nothing that's solid enough in these lower time frames. 15-minute one. Sideways trend here. So we could potentially take a shorter term long position if a really good one mapped out, and I think, yeah, there's nothing here that I'm interested in. Not going to gamble, right? Got to have very high probability trades. All right, I'm going to do one more Forex one here, and then I want to jump over and look at some of our crypto areas. Okay, so in a weekly time frame here, we've got, looks like a corrective move. This area here interests me just because of where it's at on the chart, but it's not a good solid zone. So I think price is going to struggle getting through here. I don't necessarily know that it's a zone that I would take though as an actual trade. We are, if you really big picture look here, right? This is one of those ones that you don't get to see all that often, but man, you got on a multi-year basis here, you've got this consolidation. Look here. So price is it's going to keep moving back and forth between these areas over probably the next several weeks or even months. And then we'll find a really good spot, maybe on like a daily chart where you'll get a good indication of which direction it's going to come out of here. So let's look at the daily chart and see what we do have there, if anything is jumping out at us. Again, overall, uptrend, we flatten this out. This is now officially a sideways trend. So we'll be looking for, what's going to change that. And let me just jump over here first. We've got a couple of interesting areas. This one is one, and then we've got one right here as well. Go back over current price. Yeah, the first one almost worked, right? It bounced off of there and came back down through. This second one here, we definitely look to see price come. If it comes in here, you're probably going to get a pretty good move back up again. Looking up and left though, this is all too messy. So yeah, nothing strong here. 240 minutes time frame. We got this negative divergence here on the RSI, very, very clear. So we were looking for that correction, and yeah, we're trying to find the top of this before price would come back down into that other daily zone there. I would definitely take a look at something happening in this here, this 129.296 to 425 area. And 60-minute, so we've now, we're definitely in a sideways trend. So anything would go, even though we are overall bigger picture downtrend. So I'm looking more for shorts than I am longs, and yeah, the same area right here, right? This is the same area that we saw on the 240-minute chart. Definitely interested in potentially getting another short there. And very small time frames here. Anything that we can grab today on this Remember, sideways is medium time frame, but bigger time frame. We're in a downtrend. So looking for shorts primarily, and I would take either or both of these right here. Okay, that's enough Forex for now. So let's jump over and take a look at crypto, and let's see what we have in our TradingView platform. Flip up, and I go to my red list here. I've got a bunch of crypto. So these are the top 18, I think, cryptocurrencies by market cap. So we'll start with looking at these. And so just kind of a heads up for what the educational video coming out later this week on crypto is going to be. It's going to kind of define how we're handling supply and demand here on the cryptocurrencies. Since I don't have any hard rules set for these, typically what I'll do is I'll just draw each of the zones out and then just start tracking them. So some of the zones you're going to start seeing in crypto are not necessarily high probability ones, but this is how we have to build those rules and build those levels of probability in by tracking all of them. And then once you track them, then you do that for about 100 or so zones per currency. Then you can start identifying some trends, identifying some behavioral characteristics, like does it wick through zones very well? Does trend matter? In a significant way? Does context matter in a significant way? And so we'll once we track those, again, about 100 zones per currency, we can start formulating some of those rules, and the zones will start having a little bit more, a little higher probabilities to them. So just in general, right, for Bitcoin, bring up the daily chart here, and you can see, sorry, this is an hourly chart. I'm not sure why that one. I want to actually open up the daily one. So we have this area right down here that's very, very strong, right? Very significant area on the daily chart that be very difficult for price to get down through. And if it does, we've got some other areas down below. We'll take a look at those probably tomorrow when I've got a little bit more time. But I just want to show you kind of bigger picture, right? This is the reason why most of these currencies dropped. We had, you saw that lesson last Friday. You can see the negative divergence here. That really showed that there was a significant course correction coming. And sure enough, dropped right down into our daily area and is now moving back up here. So for just other zones, 240-minute time frame, you can see we've got this area right above that looks very, very strong. Nothing down below. Right, you've got to get through this entire long wick right here first. So it wouldn't take anything on a 240-minute time frame until you get up into this area at 54,000. On an hourly one, you'll see this one, this first zone here, worked very, very well last night, and came right up, and I mean very, very good trade there. The second one worked a little bit smaller profit target there, but did work as well. And now we've gone through this area, and nothing else below here on the 60-minute until we get down to that daily time frame. And again, you'll see here on the 15-minute chart, so I'm talking about just drawing these zones out and not knowing, where to necessarily put the stops and entry points at. We just poked right above this zone here, and then now price is moving back down out of it. So very strong zone. Once we do this a few times, we'll know if we need to move stops out further on some of these lower time frames, or if this was literally just a missed trade here. But that's all that we have for Bitcoin drawn up right now. Do expect to see price drop a little bit lower, but I would be surprised if it goes through that daily zone at all. So Ethereum, good, same area here on the daily zone here on chart. I'm just going to try and go through these as quickly as I can, just identifying the zones that I've already drawn up, just so you can kind of get a really good context for what the overall cryptocurrency market is doing so far. So good strong zone here. Again, wouldn't expect price to come down through here. If it does, we've got one right below it though. That we should see a very strong move out of. Nothing clear on a 240-minute time frame, and up on a 60-minute chart here. Again, nothing that's jumping out at me, and so we're just going to rely on that daily zone here for for Ethereum. So USD, I'm tracking this one just because of an interesting view here. Obviously, this tries to mimic the US dollar, so it's going to stay right around 1. I'm just watching these spikes. We'll do this for a while just to see if there's any useful data that we can get out of this, and potentially some very, very quick trades. If it doesn't turn out to be useful, then I'll stop tracking this one, and we'll find something else that's a little bit more helpful. So for DOT, see here on nothing, there's no other zones here. 240-minute chart, we've got one way above at 34 that we're interested in. On a 60-minute chart, though, I'll blow this one up for you. That one did come back down last night, worked out very, very well for us, and then, of course, kept coming back down. And I actually do have another zone right here that we're interested in as well, right? Because this whole area right here took out all of these pivot highs to the left. So it could be very, very strong in this area here. It would definitely look to take a trade right here. Again, not a longer term one. Make it a 2 or 3, maybe a 4 to 1 target, profit target there. All right. On Dogecoin, no zones at all. This one does seem to be a little bit more of an overall free fall. I'm guessing that's mostly because it's actually not based on anything. Right, so there's not going to be a whole lot. There's nothing, really foundational building this cryptocurrency up. So kind of expanding this chart out a little bit, you can see here, there's no daily zones at all down here. So nothing really that we're interested in actually tracking from a zone perspective yet. On a 4-hour, I'm seeing this one kind of jump out at me right now. The wick coming out of here is a little too long for my taste, but because just the overall weakness in this market, this still may end up being a reasonable trade. We'll watch price action as it comes back up in here on some of the smaller time frames and really get good confirmation that we could actually get a trade there. AVAX, I don't think I had any zones drawn on this one at all yet. Although this one has a little bit of, it's a little bit stronger than some of the other ones. But yeah, nothing that I've got right now. I'll keep taking a look at a lot of these throughout the day today. And so we might have some more zones to look at tomorrow when we get through here. So we got Shibu here, and we saw that we got really good movement off of this daily chart, this daily zone here, and actually would have hit our target here. And then as prices come back down again, we had to punch through here. But just I'm keeping this one on here just to, again, so I can track to see what we really want to do with the stop market orders that we put in, if they need to be tight in or if they really do extend out more. No other zones here that I'm interested in looking at. On a 240-minute chart, you can see we've got this one right above here that if this weakness continues to stay in, I really like this zone here. If price continues to drop and then as it's coming back up, if it changes trend, we wouldn't take this. So this has to be a with the trend trade. Matic. We had really good areas here on the daily chart. It came down a few days ago and really respected this area here. Set a new all-time high. Had negative divergence, so we were expecting this correction down. But I would be surprised if price gets all the way back down through these areas here. There's a lot of strength in these daily zones. Nothing else on here that I'm interested in. So CRO. Look at any zones drawn at all on this one. Still looking at it. Still trying to find what does constitute a good zone here. We'll look for some more on those tomorrow. WBTC. Same thing here. I don't have any zones drawn for this one, so we're still trying to kind of dig into a couple of these a little bit more until we can actually find ones that we think fit. Actually, now that I'm looking at this one, I do see something on a 240-minute chart. So you've seen this formation now a few times, right? Where you've got on a 240-minute chart, you've got this zone in this area right here, but the really, really, really long wick coming out of it. So that worries me a little bit, especially a wick longer than the base candle or the leg candle coming out. So we'll just monitor this, watch for it, and again we'll track it, and then after enough zones we can track, we can start putting in some good rules for these. Litecoin, nothing significant on here at all. Again, we have this. Most of these we have this really the same area in the 240-minute chart. This one looks better because the wick doesn't extend out as far. So this is a little bit more of a stronger zone right here. And let's see here, Uni, I've got nothing here. And the reason why, so just some of these just kind of jumps out at you right away. This wick that came all the way down here, this big one, there's literally nothing you can trade until this thing gets taken out. So we're not going to have any good higher time frame context for something like this until that goes away. See algo, I don't have any zones drawn here either. Link, nothing here. BCH, let's just blow this one up here real quick because this is Bitcoin Cash, right? Yeah, there we go. And so we've got to come down and take out this wick here. These types of wicks just put too much uncertainty in this, and it takes away all the high probability trades that you can get here. Going to UST. This is another one that we'll have to watch. It just doesn't look like it's going to lend itself to a supply and demand trading strategy. So we'll watch it for a while. And again, if any of these that just really don't fit that because they're too spiky, or they're not, they're trying to like match something like the US dollar, those are not going to end up being good trading ones. We won't spend too much time on them. But just because their market caps are very high, we wanted to just start with that. That's how you weed these things out. It's how you figure out what we can actually trade and what we can't. XLM's got a really good zone here on the 60-minute time frame, like right above this white space that it's creating right now. And look left, you've got some really good indicators that price does change direction in those areas. So that could be a potentially good one. And then we'll finish off here. Again, this is another one of these ones where it's trying to match something, and chances are we'll watch these for a couple of weeks and then probably take them off of our list so we can focus on ones that we can actually use. So flip over to our crypto holdings right now within the Double Dog Day Trade group. And a couple of them we've already looked at here, so I won't double those, but we've got AMP. And again, this is one of the ones that we may end up not tracking. I think this is one of we got a few dollars of this through doing the free training on the Coinbase app. So some of these are a result of either like a reward that you get, or the training that you can go through and get free crypto. So we'll try and split those off as we do the reporting on this, so you know which ones we're actually interested in based on supply and demand versus ones where we just happen to get some free currency in going through those training sessions. But free money is still free money, right? We don't want to turn that down ever. So Clover actually had some really good responses to some of these zones. We had, as you can see here on the 1 hour chart last night, we did jump into it, pop out, and then we are getting a little bit more weakness here. On the 15-minute chart, you'll see this one here the first one did not work at all. Second one looks like it's a little bit more strength here. So again, we're just tracking all of these to determine which one of them is going to work, what the rules need to be so that we can accurately and effectively actually supply and demand trade crypto. Actually, Dogecoin, I'm not sure why that one didn't show up, because we definitely looked at that one in the previous one. XLM, sorry, let me, down here, yeah, we've got a couple of good shorts in XLM that we're interested in here on a 240-minute time frame. Overall, sideways trend, so these ones could end up being pretty good zones here. On Anchor, we had, let's see here, we have a 15-minute chart. You can see here, right, this one worked for about a 3-to-1 initially, and then depending on where the stop was at, would have worked for a 4-to-1 as well, and now has come down through there. Nothing else of interest on this chart here. And QNT, I think, had a really good, 240-minute time frame one, looking pretty good over here. And right below it, we've got a daily one. The price has come very close to multiple times now, and could end up being, a very, very strong one for a bigger move up on this one. FET, there were no zones. Spell, we've got a short on a 240-minute time frame at 0.017. And then IoT, you see we had a really good short-term trade last night as well, up here on the 15-minute time frame, and now prices come back down through it. Probably looking for a bigger move down on IoT, honestly. Back down into, probably down into, maybe down as far low down as like between 7 and 8 cents area, potentially. All right, so a couple minutes late here, but wanted to get through some of those crypto things. You'll see more tuning as we continue to go through them. We'll weed some of these out that don't make any sense to us, and then we'll start adding ones in. Again, look for whatever feedback we can get from you guys if there's stuff that you're interested in, particularly in crypto. Please let us know. We will actively chart it and report back on it, and we'll kind of walk through this over the next couple of weeks live with you all of how we're viewing the data, what makes sense, and how we build our rules. So this would be a really good group exercise here. Take notes on this, and of course, if you have any questions on it, please let us know. Thank you guys very much for your support, for your participation. Remember to subscribe to the channel to get notifications of when these additional videos come out. And have a happy and safe trading day. We'll see you again tomorrow, 8:15 Eastern, for another day trading setup process.